Welcome back to another PT Pro from the Optimal Body Podcast. I'm DocJen.
And I'm Dr. Dom.
And today we're going to go into the mobility method. Is there one method? What the heck is it? Dom's actually going to be asking me some questions, and we're going to dive all in.
So this episode is super exciting because we get to dive a little bit deeper into the mobility method, where it was all born. Mobility, that's what you're known for, the mobility queen. So the mobility method, why did that end up coming up? Where did that originate?
So it originally launched and pulled together in November, actually, of 2017. So it's been a little bit. What's funny is that I had zero intention of ever really having anything. I didn't know that I was going to have an Instagram, right? And that started to grow. And then once I graduated physical therapy school in 2015, that's when I started educating. And guess what people liked the most as to what I would educate about?
Mobility.
Oh, so crazy.
Yeah, wild.
In earlier social media kind of growth, with the things that were the sexiest, right, was the workouts and what people could do to look a certain way and aesthetics. And what I felt was lacking that I noticed was that baseline, was finding that foundation first. Well, before you go try to lift overhead, do you even have that shoulder range of motion that you need in your body?
I think one of the toughest things is actually putting it together and packaging it in a way that is easy to get to people and is easy for people to understand. Once they buy the mobility method, like, how do they easily get through this thing in a way that's going to impact their body? So how'd you go about putting it together to get it out to people?
This initially came about as well because I was working with clients in person. I had already left the clinic and it was great, right? I could see my own clients. I could see people who were really motivated, wanting to do the work. Yet there was this whole Instagram world of people who were also seeking help and seeking information. And though you could try to find the solution through Instagram, I really felt like there needs to be a better place for people to actually be able to dive into their bodies that could really, truly benefit beyond just a random Instagram post. And so when I first created the mobility method, my thing is there's never one answer. So I didn't also believe in creating this program that was like the 12 steps to mobility. Yeah. Or, here is the perfect outline that you follow. I think that's really hard to create. So when I first created it, actually, I didn't even have a self-assessment. It was literally just broken down into the biggest areas within your body that neglected mobility, which when we go by the joint by joint method, which we've talked about before, right? Neck is usually more stable. Upper back needs to be more mobile. So there was a whole section for back mobility that was mostly around the upper back, and then the hips and the ankles and the feet and the toes. And, it kind of went down, and the wrists. It kind of went down each path. But what I realized too, and even though people got in, we're doing the work, amazing, it's also a lot of information.
So talk a little bit more about what the mobility method is and how somebody would work their way through it now.
This idea of a mobility method came together because it truly was, there's no one method, right, to mobility. The method to mobility is really getting to know your own body. Yeah. And so when I first created it, with all of these different modules and saying, explore through every exercise and find what's needed for your body. It was very overwhelming for people, right? So I decided, okay, there needs to be a little bit more structure and guidance in how people can truly start to get to know their body and understand where they should be going rather than just trying a bunch of exercises. So that's where I then created a little self-assessment. And that little self-assessment is actually 23 movements long because it's surprising to get to know your body on a whole new level. And there's differences between passive range of motion, where it's like I'm laying down on my back and my arm can flop open. Yeah. Or active range of motion, where I'm standing and now can I move my arm against gravity? Yeah. Right? And introducing people between those two concepts to say there is an exercise for passive range, but there's also an exercise for active range. And when you understand this active range, that's what's really going to take you into becoming a more functional human.
If I'm only having pain in one area, couldn't I just do part of them? Or why is it important to do all of those 23.
Yeah, that's important to understand. Everyone wants to know, what are the mobility exercises that I do for my back pain,
Totally.
right? My back is
Or my
hurting.
knee pain. Can I just do some knee things?
Exactly. But what we're neglecting to see is that, one, there's no one solution for every diagnosis, and there's no one solution for every pain. Your pain point just paints the picture of what's happening, and your diagnosis just confirms that pain. But it doesn't actually tell us the cause, and it doesn't actually tell us what is happening within your individual body. And so I think getting people to understand and better educate around their body really helps to pull in the whole picture. Like, oh, my upper back is actually super limited. Maybe that's why I'm having shoulder issues and can't lift overhead all the way. Maybe that's why my low back feels kind of achy. And when we start to put this picture of our own body together, like, oh, I didn't realize that my hip moved in 4 different directions or 5 different, and when you're really working on mobility of things, it's not just the passive range of motion. When you're actually working on mobility, your hip flexors are going to get strong. Your glutes are going to get strong, because if you're really working through rotation of the hips and maintaining and holding in different ranges, your body around those ranges are going to get strong as well. And so I think that's the misconception people have sometimes. The other misconception, I feel like people come into the mobility method, one, they tell me exactly what to do, give me an everyday plan, and it's not structured that way, because again, it was created in something that I truly believe can help someone. There's no one way to do anything. It's what your body individually needs. So if you go through the self-assessment based on each restriction, there then is like 4 to 5 recommended exercises. Again, not exactly what you should do, but based on this restriction, here's what could help. And so there I narrowed it down. Instead of all the exercises in the module, here are 4 to 5, explore them, find what's most restricted, and then find when you can do it within your day. So for example, can you do 1 before you get out of bed in the morning? Can you do a couple before you work out? Because again, they're not just passive, they're active as well. Can you do 1 to 2 after you work out? Can you do 1 before you go to bed? And so all of a sudden you have this individualized, personalized mobility program that you get to pick and plug into your day as it fits for you. And that's really what I wanted to create. So my recommendation is, it is a lot of information, right? You go in, you see the program, but you also have to understand, I try to give as much information because I want to teach, I want to educate. So it's hard for me to back down. I probably can make it a lot more simple, but I want to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And this is truly this is your program for life. You're not paying a membership. You pay one time, you get access. So I hope that kind of takes stress off people too, because you have this for life. You have this to always be able to come back to, right? So you don't have to get through it all at once. So I tell people, take a week to go through the self-assessment, write things down, see what's restricted, feel the different recommended exercises. And then based on that, kind of judge for yourself, where were the biggest restrictions within your body? What really stood out to you that was whoa, that's crazy. I didn't realize that. Choose 1 to 2 areas. 1 to 2 only of the biggest restrictions. And then based on those suggested exercises, you'd have 4 to 6 altogether. And then that's where you can kind of pick and play. There's 2 breathwork classes that are in that mobility method as well. And it shows you how to use, tools to continue to help with this breath thing that we talk about all the time. It's the first video you see because it's the first one that I recommend people starting with. If you want to improve your mobility, you have to see where the state of your nervous system is in first before we can even start to say, okay, let's address how things are moving. So it's something that I recommend every person starting there. And then I also have bonus videos, if you get headaches a lot, if you are questioning foam rolling, if you what tools really help you along this mobility path, what aren't as necessary. In order to just help guide people into just starting, I do have basic, I say basic and generalized because I want you to start at the self-assessment, right? But generalized routines for people to go into like, okay, if I'm experiencing a lot of low back stuff, here's in general some mobility things that can help. If you're experiencing knee pain, here's in general some mobility routines that can help. But again, do the self-assessment. I mean, I really created it. It's not the typical business answer, right? Where it fits for everyone.
Yeah.
But it does. Like, I really hope even I've had very experienced and seasoned athletes go through this. I have bodybuilders, yogis. I've had across the board, so many different types of movers. We're all movers. Go through the program and just continue to learn. And I think that I've had chiropractors, I've had therapists, go through the program. And it's just another way to continue to hold yourself accountable and explore your body.
Do you do it? Do you do any of the mobility method stuff yourself?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. You are the mobility queen, so do you need to anymore? Or I know
people think I'm just
beyond?
So mobile. It's so funny. I have my own, definite restrictions and things that I can do a lot more consistently. I'm not perfect. I have spouts of doing it really religiously and then spouts of falling off a little bit more and sitting or being more sedentary. So, no one's perfect. Again, it's on this journey and it's continuing to say, what do I need to assess? How can I come back? What is restricted? And okay, say you're not going to do the 1 a.m, 2 before, like all that kind of stuff. Pick one. Choose one thing that you've learned based on the restrictions within your body and say, how can I implement this? Maybe it's setting an alarm on your phone. Maybe it is wearing a watch that kind of like beeps at you, or, it's your tool to get you out of your desk and moving a little bit. Whatever it is that can motivate you to move a little bit different in your body. That's always what we're trying to do. I would say, especially if you're pain-free, if you don't really experience anything, start it now. Start exploring, get to know your body. I mean, it's the same as when I say, go see a physical therapist in person at least once a year. Even if you don't have anything going on, just explore, right? So it's the same within the program. If you can get in now, especially if you don't have any aches and pains, great. If you are specifically diagnosed with a new injury, an acute injury, that's where I say, please go see your physical therapist. I cannot promise that this is going to fix you because it's not going to diagnose you. It's just going to educate you. And there are movements that can definitely help, but I can't guarantee. So I always recommend still go see a physical therapist. I'm a physical therapist. I love what we do and I think we're amazing humans. And then I will say, especially chronic pain people, get in. Like, I promise, give yourself the opportunity. I just read a post today that is so amazing, and someone who was saying she just got into the mobility method 3 months ago, and then she joined the challenge that we launched, the 30-day challenge, and now she's in the optimal body. I mean, it's just incredible, right? But what she's experienced is her journey of pain. She's been in pain for a long time, and so coming into this, there's an expectation I have that I'm going to release pain. And what she's learned is that even though she did the mobility method for 2 weeks, all of a sudden, like, everything was feeling better. She's like ecstatic and this is going great. And then it kind of ebbed and flowed. And what she learned about herself, her mind, her body, her connection to her pain is, can you still be ecstatic to be a part of the journey, even on those moments that feel a little bit lower? And it makes me want to cry because it's so powerful, like, to be able to recognize that and take ownership. Like, no one else is going to fix me. I truly have to do the work to heal myself and continue to explore. And that's exactly what she's doing, right? And it's just such a beautiful process to be able to read someone's journey and know that this is just a guide. And the more that you guide yourself in and you continue to do the work, like, how beautiful it can be in your body.
So I know that we don't do this often, but because it's such a special episode, getting to dive into the mobility method, I think we can share our secret podcast discount code with everybody, which is mobile.
Mobile.
Code mobile. You get 15% off. 15% off your start of your journey for the mobility method. Dive into the community, dive more into your body, and really start unlocking what could be going on.
Thanks for taking the time to listen through that incredible journey. That honestly made me emotional. It's been such a journey to have the mobility method. And if you have more questions about it or interested to explore within our community, make sure to grab the link below and don't forget the discount.